here in the psych science program. I'm from Pittsburgh, not the Pennsylvania Pittsburgh, but actually Pittsburgh in the Bay Area. And yeah.
Hello, my name's Natalie. I'm also a second year student in the Psychological Science Master's program. And I am from Sacramento. Don't know if you've heard of it.
Hi, everybody. First, I want to apologize. I'm a little sick, so sorry about my voice. But my name is Anthony, and this is my second year at grad school. I'm in the MBA program here at Chico State, and I'm from Sacramento as well.
So, like I said, why grad school? Still working on your bachelor's? Why think of grad school now? And the answer to that is the graduate studies, the Office of Grad Studies a while back went around and interviewed a bunch of seniors and other undergrads. And one of the most concerning things they found out was that a lot of students actually regretted their major choice and kind of wish they had picked something different. A lot of them doubted that they could find a meaningful career. They don't know what jobs are actually available with their degree. Like once they get their degree, what can they actually do? And a lot of them felt that it was too late to go to grad school. You're already a senior. Is it too late to apply? And finally, a lot of students felt like they were academically and financially unprepared to pursue a graduate degree. They might think that they hadn't taken the right classes or their grades weren't good enough, or maybe they don't think they had the funding for that. And we're mostly here to try and address some of those concerns. One of the main things that graduate studies learned they had to do was, first of all, explain what career possibilities were available and what degrees you actually needed for those careers. Basically, if you're an undergrad student and you knew what you wanted to do you need to go to grad school? And if you didn't know what you wanted to do, what could you get with your degree? And then the second point is the same, where if you know what you want to do, maybe it's important to figure out what major you need before it gets a little too late. The next one is determine whether an advanced degree is needed for your career goals. This is similar, where if you want to be a doctor, I think most people would know that you need an MD. But if you want to be an engineer, do you need a master's degree? Do you need a PhD? And that's an important part of what grad studies are trying to help people figure out. Grad studies also wanted students to leverage their undergraduate years to really prepare both academically and financially to get these advanced degrees. Whether this was applying for funding while you're still an undergrad, or focusing more on academics, or maybe doing extracurricular activities that help your resume look better. And then finally, grad studies wanted people to know that it's never too late or too early to prepare for grad school, but also that it's important students feel that they can go to grad school, that this is a possibility, and that it really can be an option for you to secure the best future for themselves. And a part of this is helping people to resist the imposter syndrome. And I'm sure some of you may have heard of this, but the imposter syndrome is basically this idea that you're kind of a fake. You're this imposter in this grad school filled with all of these different students that are so much smarter, so much more capable, and how could you possibly be there? And honestly, I think all students go through that. And my personal experience was when I first started in the program, I had very little research experience as an undergrad. So when I came in, I talked to some of the cohort and they're like, yeah, I published this article in this student journal, and then I presented at this conference and I have this poster. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to compete with this? How am I supposed to compare? Like, surely they made a mistake when they accepted me, right? But after asking around and getting to know everybody and talking to them, I realized that everybody tends to feel that, where nobody's totally sure that, or nobody tends to be totally sure that they belong, or that they aren't, thinking it, basically. And it's not a unique problem to just you or to any one student, where it is really common. And as Winnie the Pooh says, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. So a big part of grad studies is to help students get through that, and both undergrad students to know that you can go to grad school. It's not this thing totally out of reach, that you don't lack abilities or capability for it. And also for current grad students to know that they do belong and that you're not faking it. You know, it wasn't a mistake that you got in. So, yes. So one of the big questions is, how can you dream big after school, after you finish school, if you don't know what to dream about? How can you achieve your dreams if you don't know the pathway to reach them? And basically, grad studies is trying to help you avoid the worst jobs, the jobs that you would totally hate, and help you find the ones that you would actually enjoy. So first of all, there are several different types of post-bachelorate and advanced degrees. Chico State offers the first three on this list: the teaching credential, the Masters of Science, and the Masters of Art. So teaching credentials are one-year degrees. That's 1 year or 2 semesters of full-time attendance, which is, I believe, 8 units per semester. And this you can get with any kind of bachelor's degree. Like, as long as you have a bachelor's degree, you can get your teaching credential in this 1 year. As long as there are some more details to it, but basically it's a 1-year thing if you have your bachelor's. And this teaching credential prepares you to teach K through 12. That would be kindergarten through senior year of high school. And there's also the Masters of Science, which is generally for the STEM fields, science, tech, engineering, math. And these are usually 2 or 2 to 3 year degrees, also 2 to 3 years full-time. And then there's Masters of Arts, which are also 2 to 3 year full-time degrees. And these are for social sciences and humanities. Chico State doesn't offer the bottom 4, but these are law degrees, obviously for lawyers, Doctors of Education, EDDs, which are for people who want to teach teachers how to teach, and also to teach administrators and become school principals. The PhDs, Doctors of Philosophy. This is a very long one, 4 to 6 years, and or not very long, but longer than the others, 4 to 6 years. And this is, PhDs can be difficult out of bachelor's because you may not be fully accustomed to the grad school system, and a master's before you go to your PhD can help a lot with that. And then finally, there's Doctors of Medicine. You generally need to have an undergrad major in science, nursing, English, or economics, and these are 7 to 11 years with a lot of schooling, and then you get to become a doctor afterwards. So that was cool. And yeah, so I'll pass this off to Anthony.
Thank you very much, Raymond. So one of the benefits of grad school, the practical reasons, and every single one of these bullet points is the reason why I actually chose to go to grad school. So of course, it's you have the opportunity to increase your earning potential. It's been proven that people with graduate degrees, professional degrees, they end up making more almost immediately, if not immediately, and especially throughout time. You also do get increased job opportunities and choices now more than ever. It's, I don't know if you've heard of this, but people are saying that like a master's degree is kind of like what a bachelor's degree was like 20, 30 years ago, just because a lot of people have been getting the master's degrees. So a lot of jobs are requiring them, even if for like entry-level positions. Like if you're interested, for example, I'm interested in like working in higher education, student affairs. A lot of positions do require some sort of like professional graduate degree. Also, you do get, of course, increased job security in whatever discipline or field that you do end up going into. And then also you can change your career path and switch professions. So although I'll give you an example myself. So I came to grad school right after I graduated. But I actually, in my undergrad, I did sociology and social science, and now I love that. I was really passionate about those two like areas that I studied. But I'm doing my MBA now. So I'm studying business, and I was able to do that, of course, by obtaining a graduate degree. So my graduate degree is allowing me to essentially kind of change career paths, switch professions, even though I technically haven't even like worked full time yet, like in a real career. This is like, I guess I would say, making me more marketable and allowing me to do more. Next slide, please. Okay, and so of course, master's degrees are valuable. As I mentioned before, the requirement for master's degrees is growing across most industries and professions for both entry level and advancement. Also, what's really unique is so some programs they'll do like cohort-based programs where you go in with students together. You're in it for like the entire degree, or like mine's not necessarily like a cohort. We have like both spring and fall like what I would say, admissions. So you can kind of like join in whatever. So what I've seen is there's a lot of people who are like kind of like middle of their careers, like they have like 10, 15, some people even have like 20, 30 years of experience, and they're getting their master's degrees. And so I've been able to network with them. I'm 23. I started the program when I was 22. And in my group, I had people who were like in their mid 40s, like early 50s, which is really cool. So as you can tell, master's degrees are becoming more valuable, and they're doing this obviously to advance their career and get into higher positions. So California has a shortage of Master of Art degrees. Holy workers, demand is higher than the supply. Those with master's degrees get jobs faster and retain employment at a higher rate during economic downturns, such as the recent pandemic. And there's also, it does obviously advance and further your career. And lastly, those who are wishing to make a career change, master's degrees are the perfect opportunity. So there kind of is like a myth that you have to, if you want to get your master's, you have to like have majored in something with your undergrad. Sometimes that is true, but for the most part, that is not true. So as I mentioned, I had no business experience whatsoever. And like I said, I studied sociology and I went into business. I did have some prerequisites, but Chico State, as well as other campuses, they did like waive some. There was like kind of like little modules you could take. I only had to take 2 actual classes like over summer, and I was I'm proficient within like accounting now. So it's definitely possible. Next slide, please. All right, so this chart is the differences in average earnings. This list is constantly changing, the state, I mean, but yeah, this is like the bachelor's versus master's degree. So like a degree type, so like let's just say like general business, a bachelor of science, business management, finance. Median average wages with a bachelor's degree is around 62,000, and with a master's degree, like so, like with an MBA, you're looking at an average of $80,000, which is a really big difference. And then in civil engineering, 83,000 to 101,000. So as you can see that you're going from 5 figures to 6 figures on average with a master's degree. Graphic design, or any fine arts, you're at 42,000, and it's a $10,000 increase to like the low 50s. With biology, this is huge. As you can tell right there, it's almost half, 56,000 to 96,000 on average. Social service managers, this is kind of like the profession that I kind of want to go into at first. Like around 50,000 with like an advanced degree, you go up to 65,000. And computer science, again, you do notice the 5-figure to 6-figure jump from 83 to $100,000. And then, of course, teachers. So 45,000 to 56,000. So with teachers, a lot of them, you do need you do need a teaching credential, but then you can also like advance your education by getting, a lot of teachers do end up getting a master's in education or teaching, and then or even a PhD. Yeah. Next slide, please. So what are the other benefits? So emotional and intellectual reasons. So pursue your passion, find meaning in your work. Tackle the big questions in science and society. You can engage in high level research, as Raymond said. And I'm the same way. I didn't have a lot of research experience for my undergrad, but when you're in grad school, there are those resources and you do high levels of research. And it does sound like pretty intimidating at first, but it's actually pretty fun once you know how to do it right. And I'm still constantly learning in my second year. So these are really good skills to have that are transferable to the workplace. You engage with like-minded peers and colleagues. So this is actually really interesting. I noticed people are obviously more like serious in grad school, more serious about their studies, I would say, as opposed to my undergrad. I never really had like issues like, you know, like when people be disrupted in class or anything like that, like as opposed to like high school. But I've just noticed in grad school, everybody is much more serious. Like, let's say with like group where people are just like more on it. And that's what I love, because it's like less, I guess, stress on yourself. Like, oh, my group member is not necessarily putting up like, you know, their part of their work. In grad school, it's not really like that. People are more on their work. And then a chance to explore if you don't know what else to do. So that's exactly what I did. Wasn't too sure what to do, so got business. And then you know, attain status and respect. So on average, only 9% of the US population hold a master's degree and only 3% have a PhD. And those statistics are even lower for people of color, first generation, low income students. So definitely change the status quo. See, next slide, please. Oh, sorry. And this one's still mine, I think, right? So how to decide if an advanced degree is for you. So these are some questions you should ponder. So you should definitely ask your professors, staff, and graduate student peers about their career paths. This is what I did. I definitely went to the Career Center a lot during my junior, my senior year, just because I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. And I graduated May 2020. So I wasn't planning on attending grad school right away. I had a job offer, but that's when COVID first hit, and my job offer was rescinded. But thankfully, I had like all this knowledge about grad school already, and I had applied kind of like as a backup plan. And so I'm really glad things worked out the way that they did, because I'm almost done with my master's now, and I've had a really great time and made so many really great connections. You should also ask them, like, why did they choose to pursue an advanced degree? So some of you might have like parents or relatives that have master's degrees, or you have really good connections with the boss, former employers, professors. Definitely ask them why they pursued it. How do they prepare? What were their biggest challenges? Everybody's gonna have similar challenges, but also different challenges. What are their biggest rewards? And if they had to do it over again, would they? And what's the best advice that they could give you? So I definitely utilize the Career Center a lot, like I said, for this. Also, I wish I utilized the Office of Graduate Studies. I wasn't too familiar with their services back then, and I know they would have given me even more support. So that's one of my regrets. I wish I would have reached out to your office, Rose. But that's what I always tell like all my friends that are like seniors, juniors right now, definitely to reach out to all of you. And then I believe, is this Natalina?
This one is my slide?
I think so.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I expected
That's
to
okay.
take the slide below it.
Oh, it's okay. I can go with this one too.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sorry
I'm
about that.
sorry.
Sorry. All right, sorry about that. I got confused, my bad. So next steps is how to prepare. So up your academic game. So increase your effort in your courses to learn more and improve grades. I wasn't like the strongest candidate definitely during my freshman and sophomore year, just because of the transition. But in my junior year, I don't know what clicked in me, but I started taking school a lot more seriously, as I should have early on. And I managed to like make the dean's list the last 4 semesters, and that's how I got my GPA up. That's how I got into grad school. So definitely, you also want to develop your skills. So there's a lot of resources at Chico State. So there's a student learning center. There's reach that you can participate in your freshman year, like I did. Chico STEP Connections, of course, Adelante. I love this program so much. I wish this program was around when I was an undergrad. I worked for it last year when kind of when it was first starting up. So I wasn't able to participate in it, but I want to help out students as much as possible that are kind of going through this phase. In cultural affinity groups, CCLC, Office of Tribal Relations, and STAR Center. Pursue academic and professional development opportunities. So there's a ton of research opportunities, teaching, lab, and mentoring assistantships, student research competitions. There's so much that goes on at Chico State that not a lot of people know about. You just have to find it. A lot of these opportunities are posted on the job search database, Handshake. Also, I would say like follow like our Instagram, Adelante Chico State, the Office of Grad Studies Instagram as well, because we post a lot of these opportunities that come up that Rose and the other staff, they get like insider information on, they want us to share. So definitely follow our Instagrams for that type of stuff, for professional development opportunities. Also, there's research funding and financial aid. You can explore your opportunities with the financial aid office and the Office of Graduate Studies. There's a misconception that there's not financial aid for graduate students. Sorry, you hear the train in the background. But there actually is. There's different types of aids. So I'm actually, me personally, I get more financial aid and scholarships in graduate school than I did for my undergrad, which I was not expecting at all. And lastly, you can discover pathways to the best degree and career pathway for you. So definitely talk to the Career Center, utilize their services, go to their website, seek out information from the U.S. Department of Labor and California Employment Development Departments.
Yeah, and to add on to what Anthony was saying about the academic game, you can, like, as he said, it is important to have a good GPA for grad school. However, you don't necessarily need to have a perfect GPA. Like, you don't need to have that 4.0 to go to grad school. And like, I personally, I had a 3.23 through undergrad, and that's like not that great compared to most grad students. So like, it is totally possible. And even though CSU, like CSU Chico, and I think most of the CSUs in general have a 3.0 cutoff for a lot of the programs, you don't have to clear for a 3.0 to be considered. Like, you can be under, and you can, like, they can make an exception for you as long as you talk to grad studies about that. And especially important at that point would be writing your personal statement. So you want to be able to explain why you aren't necessarily that a high in GPA. And grad studies can help you write a personal statement for that, to really clearly explain why. And that's just an important point, that you don't have to be this perfect student to go to grad school. And I think Natalie has financial aid.
Yes, so when I was looking into grad school, one of my biggest concerns was money. As some people know, some people probably don't know, that a lot of need-based grants from federal, from FAFSA aren't given to you. Like the Pell Grant isn't available to you anymore as a graduate student. So you have to look into other opportunities for academic funding, and also just funding for living costs. So one of the good places to look is in the department that you are studying under. There are a lot of departmental scholarships and other sources of discretionary funds that you can look for. One of the best ways to do that is to actually contact the department directly, or contact other students who have been in your program maybe a little bit longer than you and might be a little bit more aware of these opportunities, or faculty. Another a really great resource for funding is teaching and research assistantships. These are not unique to Chico State. These are, you can find these around all the CSUs and the UC. Sometimes they are funded, however, sometimes they are not. So it is kind of hit or miss. But what's really great about the teaching and research assistantships, sorry, I think my roommates are walking through the hallway. What's really great about these is you also get a lot of really valuable professional and academic experience doing these. I always found that one of the best ways to actually learn the content of a course is to teach it. And so I think that the teaching assistantships are really, really helpful in that way, as well as being helpful in funding. And then there are also different stipends and awards. Adelante offers student research awards and competitions. And then there is also campus employment opportunities. I actually have personal experience with the SARC award. I won it over the or earned it. I don't know. I applied for it and I got it over it this summer. And I was able to use the funds for my thesis project. And there was an opportunity to also set out a little bit of a stipend for myself for living expenses if necessary. Luckily enough, I was able to kind of allocate all those funds towards my project, but if needed be, I would have been able to allocate some of those for like my living costs and expenses. And then next slide. Sorry, thank you. So sorry, hold on, let me switch my slide over here. So there are stipends and awards. Some of them are offered through the Office of Graduate Studies. One of the most notable is the State University Grant. And this is something that you fill out for on your FAFSA. Financial aid will look and see if you have the income qualification for it. I actually didn't know about this coming into the program here at Chico State, but about 40 to 50% of the graduate students at Chico State receive a state university grant award while they are in graduate school here. And then there are also other funding opportunities like the Graduate Equity Fellowship Program. This is also a program that I'm currently participating in. This program kind of allows you to get a little bit of extra research experience while also being compensated for hours of research that you're doing at the university under a faculty mentor that you apply with. So that's a really great program to consider. And then the CSU Chancellor's Doctoral Incentive Program and the Cal State Sally Casanova Pre-Doctoral Program are both CSU run programs that kind of help students fall into a PhD program, kind of help like launch them towards PhD program through research, but also through funding. I know a little bit about the CDIP. I believe that one has to do with
CDIP is the one where basically you can apply for, I believe when you're in a PhD program, or was it before, but they give you $10,000.
Yeah.
$10,000 a year for, I believe, up to 3 years. So basically a total of $30,000 for your PhD program. And then if you come back to teach at any CSU, they forgive 20% of it per year with no interest. And then after 5 years, you basically clear out your loan. So that's like, it's basically free money if you just come back and teach for a while. So that's a really helpful one. And I believe Rose can tell us more about the Sally Casanova program.
Yeah, and the pre-doctoral scholars or Sally Casanova scholars program is one that can give you some money to check out other universities. You can, if you apply to that and are awarded, you can use that money to go and visit campuses. And then it also has a component of an opportunity to do a summer research at a research institute anywhere in the country. And then they'll give you a stipend and pay your money, pay your travel to get there. So, so these are both really good opportunities for folks who might want to go straight into a PhD, or if you are a master's graduate student and want to move on to a PhD after you get your master's, then you can also apply for those. But they both are ones that you would apply to before you get in. You will want to be accepted into the program if you are going for the CDIP, which is the doctoral incentive loan. You need to be accepted into a program, but then the Sally Casanova lets you check out what programs you might want to be at. So.
And then this slide kind of tells us a little bit more about career possibilities. With the CSU graduate programs and the UC graduate programs, they kind of give like a lot of lists and overviews of the programs themselves, because programs are not the same at all universities. And then the Department of Labor Occupational Handbook is a really cool resource. It'll kind of show you what degrees you need for a career that you want to go into and the average wages of that degree, and also the growth potential, which is really a really important thing to consider when you're deciding on what kind of career you want to pursue in the future. And then the California, let's see, where is it? The California Labor and Market Guide is also a really cool resource. It's kind of similar. It's kind of similar to the Department of Labor Occupational Handbook. And then ONET Online, which is in the bottom left, talks a little bit about graduate school and graduate programs as well. So that's also another great resource to look into when you're considering, when you're considering graduate programs and what programs you would like to potentially attend to launch you into your future career. Okay, and then on this page, we have a lot of campus resources here at Chico State. So you can go to the Adelante program, which is us, CSC, STEM, the Career Center, and the Office of Graduate Studies. I actually used to work for a career center at my old university. They're super duper helpful, and I've also attended the Career Center here just for a couple meetings in the past. Super duper helpful, really nice, very resourceful, and I think all of these programs are really set here to kind of just be an extra assistance to students. And I think that they're extremely helpful when it comes to trying to make decisions about graduate school, but also just kind of introducing students to the idea of graduate school and the really complicated processes that can be involved if you aren't super familiar with grad school. And it can just help with helping students decide what their next step is post-undergraduate degree. So here at the Adelante program, when it comes to professional opportunities for graduate students specifically, we kind of have three different programs. We have the Wayfinders Mentoring Program, the Outreach Ambassadors Program, and then the Summer Research Program. The Wayfinders Mentoring Program consists of graduate students mentoring undergraduate students who are preparing for graduate school. This is a paid mentor position. And then the Outreach Ambassadors Program, which is the program that I'm in, is the program in which graduate students promote Adelante's resources and graduate education opportunities at Chico State. They help plan workshops, speaker events, give presentations. And just talk about experiences in college and preparing for graduate school. And then there is also the Summer Research Program. This one is a little bit more unique in that it helps you build your research experience, which is a really important aspect of graduate school, and develop your CV by working with a faculty member over a project during the summer. This program is open to undergraduate and graduate students, so it isn't just limited to grad students, and it does include student stipends. So these are some of our popular programs. Sorry, hold on, my computer is tweaking out a little bit. These are some of our programs here at Chico State.
So these are mostly just application deadlines. There's a lot of them. They're all different deadlines for our programs. So generally, we recommend you just look through these slides later or look at the program you're interested in specifically and look at it through there. I think we can skip most of these. Go.
Just the trick is just to know that this right now is a great time to be looking at, considering grad school, because most of the programs have applications open, and most of them open in the beginning of October, and then they close at different times depending on the program, but they usually are open for a few months. And so you have time to meet with grad studies and get some assistance if you do want to apply, or just, go through some more exploration with us. That just helps you to know that right now is a great time to do it.
This is just kind of, okay, good, I'm not muted. This is just kind of like a very brief, simplified overview of steps to take when you are applying to grad school at a Cal State University. So you will apply to graduate programs using the Cal State Apply application. Most programs will require that you personalize your statement in 2 to 3 pages to show who you are, where you were, and where you're going. So this is also a very important part of your application. It really shows that like you as a person. So you will want to get some help on it with the help of others. You'll need to reread, revise, and make your application essay as best as possible. And this is also a really, really important part of applying to graduate school, because you do usually need to ask ahead of time. Most programs require 2 to 3 letters of recommendation. You can get these from professors or professional supervisors that you've worked with. I'd say it's usually pretty safe to ask about a month ahead of time, just so that before the due date, just so that people have time to kind of write things up and prepare. But it also just depends on your relationship with the individual. But then also don't sweat the test. Take advantage of fee waivers for the GRE and participate in free workshops. Another significant change is that with COVID-19, many, not all, but many graduate programs have actually dropped the GRE requirement. So while this is something that you may have had to worry about a little bit more in the past, recently it has been less of a deciding component in admission to graduate school.
Raymond, did you want to mention something about, not to worry so much about your score?
Oh, yeah. So basically for the GRE, like Natalie said, a lot of programs don't really require them now. And it's like an optional thing. And the thing about the GRE is that it's not like, even if you don't do super well on like a practice test or something, you can learn it and you can practice it. And it's not this like super difficult, impossible test that it can be made out to be, where you can definitely learn to do well on it if you are required to do so. And if you're not required to turn one in, a lot of schools don't care too much about them anymore. So it's a kind of a mix of things where if you need it, you can get better at it. It's kind of like the SAT, if you guys remember that. It's just a marginally harder SAT, to be honest. And then if you don't need it, you don't have to use it as much anymore. So you kind of have a lot of options, and the Graduate Studies Center can help you figure out different workshops to get better at the GRE if you need it. You can also practice for the writing section, and I believe the Writing Center or Graduate Studies can help with that as well. Basically, there's a lot of resources out there to help you with the GRE if you basically really want to take it. And
yeah, and I was just going to say, if you don't, if somehow you just are really, your test taking is, off that day or whatever, that's another thing. Your score is something that you can kind of talk about in your statement of purpose, and, just talk about what it is that might mitigate the lower score, your passion,
Yeah, and there's score select now, which is basically like, if you do badly your first time, you can just take it again. And if you do better, you can send that score instead. And they never have to see your first score. So if you bomb the first time, it's not the end of the world. You can retake it, or you could apply to different programs, or you can explain it like Rose said, where you can make up for it with other parts of your application. If you have a great GPA and like great extracurriculars, maybe doing poorly on your GRE isn't as big of a deal. Next slide. Yeah, so you can basically just hit up the Chico State Office of Grad Studies if you have, if you want personalized help. Like Rose said, I believe call, email, schedule an appointment for a one-on-one. There are a lot of options. They're always happy to help. Everyone there is super nice. And they can really help you out with figuring out what to do in the future. Yeah, this is what we just went over. They can help you figure out your career paths. This is the same section. These are basically just different myths. You don't need to have an incredible, perfect GPA. You can do poorly on the GRE and you will have different options available. We actually get a lot more financial aid than you might expect. Don't let the imposter syndrome stop you. You're smart enough to apply. Nobody's incapable. And this middle one where I applied before and didn't get in, I am just not good enough. I think a lot of students can fall into that pitfall where you might get rejected from a program or two and then just be like, oh man, I'm the dumbest student alive. Why did I ever think I would apply? And that's sometimes not true, where just because you got rejected from one program doesn't mean you're doomed to forever be shut out from grad school. I personally applied to a lot of programs and got rejected from a lot of them as well, and it sucks. But at the same time, that doesn't mean there's nothing out there available, and it doesn't necessarily mean anything about you as a student. Maybe they were just looking for different qualities and you might be a better fit at a different program. Graduate degree must match bachelor's. Again, like we said, you can switch career paths. And I wouldn't have a social life in graduate school. That's not totally true. You can still do the social life.
Yeah, Natalie and Raymond are a great example of, your cohort, gets to be your social group, and you can really make great connections.
Yeah, and a lot of the programs at Chico State here aren't very big. It's not like undergrad where you're in this classroom with 300 other students or something trying to like fight for the professor's attention. Our psych science program only has 6 students in it. We generally only have 6 or 7 or maybe 8 people in each cohort. So it is a small, tight-knit group. And I think the upper bound for master's programs here is about like 15 to 20. And a lot of them are still smaller. So you can really just like form your own social group with your cohort. So yeah, any questions?
Well, thank you for coming, Stephanie. We appreciate that you came, and just check out our website or contact us if you have questions after the fact. I have put some things in the chat, and I do definitely encourage you to check out our website, because we have recordings of funding videos and also chats with current graduate students that really go over a lot of the questions that you might want to ask people about why grad school, and get some really great answers. So check out that, but also be aware that we are going to be putting on more of these events, and coming up a week from Friday, which is going to be October 29th, we will have a chat with GradCat's panel of current graduate students who are going to be answering a lot of those questions that we talked about. You know, you may be checking out with other people, why grad school? Why, how did you get in? What, you know, what was your experience and what advice might you have? So that's going to be happening, and we will send out another email with the link to that, and also keep checking the Chico State announcements, because that'll be in there too. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate your time. And just one last time, we are always very happy to meet with folks and just talk about possibilities and walk through what, you know, what you might be interested in, and where graduate school might fit into that. So thank you for coming, everyone. And thank you, Raymond, Natalie, and Anthony.